Sir, thank you so much for taking the time of this busy forum with lots of interesting conversations to chat with me today. You've been on the helm of the rural poverty program, and you were just talking about it, and long stint with the Andhra government. Tell me what you see are some parallels or some linkages between what you've been hearing at the forum and where you think we should go.
Thanks, Angela. It's a pleasure coming here and then interacting. First thing which strikes me is the magnitude of the forum, Catalysing Social Impact, which is coming up here, and I saw 2019. So I presume it's going to be an institutional structure which is emerging out of it. And when we look at various similar exercises, whether it's Transformation Summit of Malaysia or World Economic Forum or Bill Clinton Forum or UAE or Dubai Forum, they take different themes and try to understand the meaning of that. They look into future through them, and then they try to work on macro policy, try to look for change makers, and then they also try to see what disruptive change can do a whole lot of things. I see a beginning of a similar exercise over here. I have known Shiv for almost 25-30 years now, and I see a new role emerging, which is a big leadership in the community.
And we were talking earlier before this about how the multi-sectors have come together, and you see that also with the government. That's happening now, a new transformation with businesses coming in, and the whole CSR piece has been an impetus, but really more about collaborating across sectors.
Over a period when the world has come together, and if we see as a sustainable development goals, so there's a clarity how inclusive growth and poverty is being defined, how everyone has to play a role, public-private partnership will happen. So a new language and understanding is emerging, and which is important for us. In fact, we can also see Bhutan talks about happiness, the UN talks about happiness. Similarly, there is another forum which has come up, Copenhagen Summit it is called. They talk about that in case a society is not able to achieve all the goals of sustainable development, could they do cost-benefit analysis of the most critical items of the society? Like if we see that malnutrition, women's empowerment, adolescent girls, these are all the important themes on which we must be talking about. So can we give a priority and direct our resources towards them? Can we put into some kind of a logical framework and say whether what are our short-term goals? And medium and long term is already 2030, which is defined by us. So this kind of an exercise which is going on will bring large number of players together. We'll talk about disruptive change, and we'll say that how we can do it in a faster way, the way it is to be done in next 15 years. That's important for us.
For me, my experience from sort of settings like this, forums like this here across India and even outside, there used to be a lot of conversation about trust deficit between civil society and the government, trust deficit between private sector and each other. And I'm really feeling positive about that. Word didn't even come up even once. I think people are really willing to get together and debate, and they're having this whole shared value piece. Are you feeling that? You're from the government, so are you feeling some of that?
No, there are two, three ways of looking at it. In some way, answer is yes, because if we see that corporate social responsibility, which is almost 15,000 crore now, and is going to touch 50,000 crore by the time we have 10 trillion economy. So that is going to play a very big catalytic role into the system. Similarly, people who are leaving their corporate jobs and coming into this line and trying to make a professional outcome out of it, again, they are trying to make a difference. Whether we go with government or we try to do our own initiatives, but public-private partnership will play a role. There are some lacunae in a government system, and I always quote that I go back to the 12th plan, which always used to say, can we convert an ongoing program into a project mode? So the moment we talk about a particular theme and say that it's a project for us, we have short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. We have different stakeholders. Everyone has to come together, and it is participatory and it is inclusive. These two important things, if they happen, then everyone is together. And this kind of a forum which I have seen today can play that role, and the role can again be in two ways. Suppose the government says we are not with you. So government cannot ignore the new policy learnings which you are coming along with, new technology changes you are bringing, disruptive change you are bringing, innovation you are bringing. But if they come along, it's good for them also. alternatively, the individuals who have started standing up and then leaving their jobs and coming into this, and they are also talking about scale.
Right.
So that also will make a difference. So in fact, yesterday I have given a suggestion that if we talk about macro policy and create space for all these learnings into the macro policy, into a project mode, whether it's a World Bank project or different fundings which are coming up there, and combine various options, results will come and everyone will have a role into that kind of thing.
Do you think forums like this would catch the ears, like you said, in macro policy will be heard, perhaps in Niti Aayog, etc.? Because I think you've seen that we have communities in these forums as well as not only private sector, government, civil society, but community groups. Yesterday we had, representative of a woman in sex work. Today we had a woman farmer from Tamil Nadu, all talking about, where they've come so far and what else is needed to be done.
One of the most difficult jobs for this forum is how do they make it sustainable, financially sustainable. I've seen number of organizations who start big. They have donations or some money provided to them. Over a period start looking like beggars because every time they go around. And that's where we have to learn from World Economic Forum. What they basically have done is they took up themes. They gave memberships, life membership or individual membership. It was big. Then over a period they started creating research and development around topics. So if we say that their learnings today, they are leaders in fourth industrial revolution, future of jobs, role for change makers, social entrepreneurship, all those kind of things. There are 5,000 researchers working with them.
Right.
So if this organization or this forum has to become sustainable, it will have to look at financial management and financial sustainability of it. They need not go out and ask people to donate for it.
Absolutely.
They generate demand for learnings, generate demand for policies. They could even directly work with CSR initiatives and give them solutions. So in the process, the organizational staff which has worked on it will not go into a fatigue. They will hire young professionals. They will create new verticals. They'll create centers of excellence, and they'll be known for it. So if we have taken 4 themes today and yesterday, and it's going on for next 7 months, what is the impact of that? What is the policy change for that? Has to be done in a very systematic way. It's a kind of a social engineering. They'll have to do it.
Absolutely.
And if it works out, then they have arrived and they'll be playing a role, and organizations and governments will ask them. Even South Asian governments can ask them, and they can try to develop that. So what topics do they take? What role they have for macro policy for the government? How do they bring big leaders together? How do they bring practitioners together? How do they create market for it? Scaling up, and the resources. These are themes already which have been taken up. Social and behavior change, which again they are talking about. In fact, one point which I want to mention, which I always mention in my discussions, is Western economies took 200 years to develop. Then Southeast Asian countries have taken around 60 to 70 years. Now developing economies have only 10, 15, 20 years before them. But those economies had incremental changes, like they moved from factor-driven economy to technology-driven economy. Once they achieved that, then they have gone into innovation. But if we are sitting in the forum today, we have large number of people who are talking about field level problems, poverty and inclusive growth. Then there are people who are talking about technology. Then there are also people who are talking about innovation. So simultaneously in Indian society, all the 3 changes are happening. Much more than that is the role of disruptive change. We don't have to create physical classrooms. We have virtual systems everywhere. The knowledge can be shared simultaneously in a real-time basis. The smartness which is coming up there, that's what has to be played around. That will be playing a very important role. In fact, if I just tell you, we started a new state in Andhra. So we requested World Economic Forum to do our competitive analysis. So they had 104 questions.
Wow.
1/3 of the questions were factor-driven, 1/3 were technology-driven, 1/3 were innovation-driven. So they interacted with 300 CEOs of various organizations. Then they gave us our rating. We used that as a benchmark. And on that we started developing. And we had double-digit growth for 4 years in a row by disaggregating, learning, changing our structures, creating new frameworks, new systems, and a whole lot of things came in around. And this was all bringing stakeholders together. It was not done by government for itself. It was all kinds of stakeholders came together.
Oh, that's a brilliant story. So I really hope that there's a potential from your words to the words of
It's a huge potential.
angels.
I see its future. I normally look into future. So I see it 5 years down the line, it will be a major demand-driven organization. corporates will ask for research, corporates will ask for ideas, governments also will ask for ideas. Only thing is, it should become financially sustainable so that it has its own image. It is not looking at the mercy of anyone.
Right.
And then it talks on a demand-driven model.
Absolutely. That's and just to add to that, for me, I think I really look forward that the communities have the platform to share their voices, so that the people are really in the center of all that need.
That has to be a very critical part, because inclusion is very critical. In fact, one final point I would like to tell. There's a research which talks about inclusivity. It says that people who are included into the system, they don't want excluded people to join them. It's a kind of a conspiracy which goes on. So either we support by empowering them, or we create policies and again see that internalization of the policy happens. So there's a huge work to be done in that sense, and it doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't happen with the existing policies or the funds. Much more than that has to be done, and this forum can play that kind of a role.
From your words to the ears of the angels, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to me.
Thank you.